Next up under my presentation, or my report, is a presentation from Sustainability Coordinator, Sarah Coulter, who is going to talk about electrical vehicle charging. And it dovetails with an agenda item that we have this evening for first reading, and then a new addition to the Park Forest Village Hall parking lot. Sarah?
Thank you, Manager Mick. Mayor Ostenberg, trustees, thank you for having me at the board meeting tonight. Over the past 4 or 5 months, we've been working on identifying proposals as well as the installation of the EV charging station here in Village Hall parking lot. Besides being points for STAR and part of our sustainability plan, we felt that the Village of Park Forest would take a stand to offer this type of service to residents and visitors of Park Forest. There's 2 different purposes for electric vehicle charging stations for municipalities. One, of course, is public charging, which would invite residents, guests, neighbors to Park Forest, and the second would be fleet charging. This initial charging station is more along the lines for public charging, although I would love to see a fleet charging station, but we can go into that later. So the value of providing a charging station for the village, because a lot of people say, well, how many electric vehicles are there actually in Park Forest? And, you know, the answer is, as of November of last year, there's about 5 registered through the state, 2 residents in Park Forest. But, of course, that number is growing as infrastructure grows. There's kind of a chicken and the egg type of discussion with charging stations. So a lot of people are afraid to get an electric vehicle because they don't have enough infrastructure or enough charging stations where they typically drive or live or travel to. So when we have this charging station here, it should hopefully encourage the market to grow as well. So it serves citizens, visitors, workers, potentially could generate municipal revenues, and it also sends a very positive message about Park Forest and where we stand on electric vehicles. As far as the fleet portion, it reduces costs of our fleet management. So fleet being our code enforcement officers, our police and fire, DPW or Rex and Parks vehicles that could potentially have an electric vehicle added to their fleet, or change out one of the vehicles to a more renewable type of fuel. So there's 2 different types of electric vehicles. There is the plug-in electric vehicle, so it's almost like a hybrid electric vehicle, and the most common one of these is a Chevy Volt. So a lot of people have seen those. Those are not only have an electric vehicle battery to them, but they also have an internal combustion engine as well. So that is a vehicle that a lot of people have purchased because a lot of people have what is called range anxiety. Plug-in electric vehicles tend to have a lower number of miles per charge. So if you didn't have a charging station that you could actually charge up at, that you could have gasoline that would kick in and then carry you through. So it's almost a half and half. You have, if you're only doing local travel, where you can go back to your house or go to the local charging station, that's very easy to do. But if you're taking a long trip or a road trip somewhere and you weren't sure where facilities were, you'd be okay with your gas engine. The second type is a strictly electric vehicle, or the battery electric vehicle, and it's 100% electric battery powered. So their ranges are limited to about 100 miles per full charge, so a little bit longer in range. And of course, as the technology grows and improves, that range is starting to grow and grow and grow. The great thing about electric vehicles, of course, is that there's 0 tailpipe emissions. They're very quiet. They're very low maintenance. You don't have oil changes. You don't have the same type of wear and tear on engines that you do as you would in electric vehicles. And of course, there's the battery that has the big warranty compared to the drivetrain or whatnot. Pretty much every car maker in the United States, or even in Europe and Asia, has an electric vehicle that they offer. Now, how that market grows is a little bit different story, but BMW has one, Honda has one, of course Toyota has a ton, Chevy has a bunch, Ford Fusion. So there's a number of different electric vehicles coming to the market. The most common, of course, are the Nissan Leaf and the Chevy Volt. So Some things to know about the infrastructure of electric vehicle charging stations. So most electric vehicles will have a port to them that looks like an outlet, and this outlet will connect to the EV charging station. It looks like a gas pump because that's what people are used to. So you pull the little nozzle down and you plug it into your car, and most cars have a standardized type of port to them. We have a level 2 dual phase charging station, and that is probably one of the most common for a public charging. Level 1 is something that is, so it goes in level 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 is the slowest charge, which most people have in their homes. So when you drive home at the evening, you plug in your car, and overnight you'll have a full charge. The level 2 is a little bit shorter of a charge time, usually between 2 to 8 hours maybe for a full charge. And then level 3 can be charged in about 30 minutes or so. So those level 3s obviously take a lot more energy, but that's what the filling station of the future that you might have seen in some ads or whatnot have these type of level 3 charging stations. So the battery charge capacity, which a lot of people ask for or wonder about charging for electric vehicles, is, as I mentioned, with the plug-in hybrid, they're about 3 to 4 hours for a full charge for those batteries. A Chevy Volt has about 35 to 40 miles per full charge, so about almost 10 miles per hour charge. The battery electric vehicle is about a 7 to 8 hour full charge. But they also have a much longer fuel charge. Now, it's important to note that it's not the Leaf is more efficient than the Volt, but it's just a different size battery. So most electric vehicles tend to have about 10 to 30 miles per hour of charging. So this is a little diagram, and I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but basically how the electric vehicle charging station works. So it pulls from our utility service, from ComEd or from the grid, pulls it to the little station that's out in the parking lot. A customer will come, and most every electric vehicle that's purchased has a number of different fobs or scan cards in the glove compartment that you activate when you buy an electric vehicle. This allows you to be able to scan your smart card at the station, which will then electronically transmit to a network server and then charge that vehicle owner for that amount of charge, so that amount of electricity charge or whatnot. What's interesting about this is that we have a wireless one. So it's basically like a cell phone that transmit these type of charges to the server and then eventually to the owner of the car on their monthly statement. So it's a pretty interesting and high tech. So there's no actual money in exchange. There's no dollar slot to feed or anything to swipe except for this sole card. So if you don't have an electric vehicle or if you don't have your card, you left it at home, it's on the other keychain, whatever, you can actually also call a number and they can log into your account for you. So there's a couple of different options as far as revenue goes. The first one would be free. So many institutions, when they first get a charging station, offer charging to vehicles for free. When they don't charge a fee, there's a service fee from the company, which is ChargePoint, who operates our charging station for a free service. I put a little example about how much it costs per hour to charge, which is roughly about 56 cents an hour. And that 4 hours of charging which would be nearly a half charge or a full charge for a Chevy Volt, is about $2.25. And then what it would be for the entire month if we had 4 hours of charging each day. Now, most people don't come to Village Hall for 4 hours, but we're hoping that they might be coming to our downtown and to our shops and restaurants for those 4 hours, or maybe 2 hours. The thing to note about electric vehicle drivers is that they don't necessarily drive like gas drivers do. You don't drive it until the needle's all the way down to the end. They try to find places to go where they can keep topping off their battery. So that's the idea behind how they charge. The second part is the fee-based. So revenue will come in from all users. there is a return on our investment for installing the charging station. But then for each charger, each time a car plugs in, there's a 10% ChargePoint service fee per charging event. So what most people do, and what has been recommended to us, and I've recommended to staff, and I'm letting you know now as well, that it's the option or the recommendation is to start as free, and as demand, as we are recognized as a charging station picks up, we could then make the choice to change to a fee-based service. A lot of people ask about Walgreens and what they do. Walgreens actually doesn't own their charging stations. They worked on an agreement with a separate company that installed the charging stations. So Walgreens really doesn't have a whole lot of say over what they charge. But at Walgreens, they charge $2 an hour for their charging, EV charging. So the usage fee billing can be charged in a number of different ways. You can charge by event. So every time you come, you can get charged a flat rate no matter how long you charge. You can charge by duration, so if it's charged by an hour, half hour, whatnot, or you can charge by the electricity use. Now, in the state of Illinois, we're not allowed to charge by the number of kilowatts used because it gets into being a conflict of interest between us and the electric provider. So as I mentioned, they play with their smart card or their key fob, and then the billing gets charged to the owner. Another neat feature is that with this, with ChargePoint, our service, a driver can actually reserve a charging parking space in anticipation of their visit to Park Forest. And then all the ChargePoint fees that are collected for the entire charging event will then, less service fees, and will be deposited directly into our account when we choose to charge for that. So here's an example of the revenue. So if we charge $1 per hour and it costs us about 56 cents in electricity per hour of charging, and the 10%, which is at 10 cents, is about 66 cents per charging hour. So the total revenue would be 34 cents, which would be a 4-hour charging event would be $1.36 of revenue. And then, of course, you can see below that, approximately about $40 per month or about $500 per year. So a lot of people wonder about parking policies, and we worked with Chief Butts before he left about what Park Forest policies would be for electric vehicle charging parking spaces, designated parking spaces. And we have 2 signs that are ordered, and they will be installed along with the flip of the switch that will be happening tomorrow once the ground becomes less frozen. And I think with today's weather, it might be a perfect opportunity for them to do that tomorrow when they come out to flip the switch. But basically, we're telling all automobile users that no one besides electric vehicles can park in this space. The worst thing a municipality or an office or anyone can do is to have these charging stations available, and then when a driver or motorist get there and there's somebody parked there, and they can't use the facility. So we really want to enforce that no one besides electric vehicles park there. There's also a number of municipalities that have a high demand for electric vehicle charging purposes, and they actually limit the amount of time that people can actually park there, even if you're an electric vehicle. So they might be a 2-hour limit or a 4-hour limit, but it's not that somebody is just parked there, camping out, hanging out, and not allowing other users to use the facilities. So I mentioned ChargePoint, and ChargePoint is the company that we have purchased our charging station through. It is wireless. It has a national network, and it's kind of a small map of the United States, but you can see how it's being more and more populated. There's very little maintenance that is required, and most maintenance that is done can be done remotely. It's so computer friendly that with a few keystrokes remotely can reset the entire station and get most bugs worked out. And as I mentioned, it's very easy to find reservations and billing, and I'll show you a picture of their some of their website capabilities. So they have the largest EV charging network. As I mentioned, one of their cards comes with the purchase of every single charging station, and there's close to 2,600 in the nation so far. It's all cloud-based. There's no IT staff. We set the fees as we choose, and they have lots of different clients like Google and Snap and a number of different cities that are using them exclusively. So the network capabilities, this is what I think is kind of neat. I don't know if you can see this very well, but I'll make sure that you have a copy of this presentation so you can see it a little clearer. But the online reporting that is available to us, we will get reports on how often our charging station is used, for what is the common duration, any kind of, if we had fleet vehicles, we could have that report back to us as far as how many miles were driven, how full of a charge, et cetera. All of our different reservations, any kind of outage alerts, route planning, et cetera. And then my last slide here is in the InVehicle Services. And what I think a lot of people don't understand and are hesitant about electric vehicles is that there's a ton of services and technology in the car, not only in the battery, but in the dashboards themselves that will help you identify where charging stations are located. There's a website and ChargePoint, and as soon as we go live tomorrow, we'll get a little orange dot in the Village Hall parking lot that says we are available and what we charge. And then, of course, there's an app for it for your smartphones. So if for any electric vehicle charging or any electric vehicle driver, they will be able to identify where we are located and what our fees are, and kind of put us on the map for EV drivers. So, with that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Before taking questions, I do want to point out that with only 2 vehicles in the village, you say that are electric?
There's 5.
Oh, 5 in the village? And one of the 5 is one of our trustees who's a pace setter in that regard. So we appreciate Trustee Settle's kind of showing us how it's done. So, the one question that I have is, what's the comparability in terms of cost for the electrical charging versus gasoline purchase?
It's considerably less. There's statistics that say that the cost of gas for a 16,000 mile usage per year is about $2,600 compared to about $600 to $800 with an EV.
Okay, so
Electric
there is
vehicle.
a significant cost savings.
Correct.
Okay.
And one of the things I guess I didn't mention is that the reporting that we get, we also will find out how much greenhouse gas emissions how many greenhouse gas emissions were eliminated based on the EV charging station, which in the world of sustainability, that's a big thing that everyone's tracking now. Everyone wants to know what kind of impact or what kind of reduction of impact your municipality is having. So they want to track total vehicle miles traveled. They want to check all the building usage. They want to track all of our waste, and not necessarily just for reducing of those, but all the impact or what that looks like in greenhouse gas emissions as well.
Mm-hmm. And just another item, it's not a question, it's just kind of an observation. It seems to me that a lot of the folks who would be gravitating towards the electric cars are individuals who are concerned about the use of energy and the environment. They are probably people who are more apt to make use of public transportation when they can. And that being the case, it seems to me it might be smart for us to post some signs at our train station parking lots that indicate if you have an electric vehicle and looking to charge it, a charging station is located in Village Hall or something of that sort, because otherwise they wouldn't necessarily know the convenience that's there. So
Right. So part of our bike and ped plan indicates that we should have wayfinding signage and kiosks and whatnot in different locations. So that was one of the things, and almost directional, EV charging station this way, so that people that are traveling to Park Forest, maybe for the first time,
Sure.
Have a very easy route or an easy way to find, besides using the GPS on their phone.
Our next goal has to be that at the train stations that we have, Easy Go or some other kinds of electric vehicles that can be used by commuters coming out and visiting people in Park Forest, and so the next step in the path.
I like your big dreams. I got those same ones.
Trustee Brandon.
Thank you. I wonder, how when you go on one of the map searches like Google and they will tell you where gas stations are or that type of thing, have the the map finder people started to designate where there are charging stations?
There are. Besides ChargePoint's websites, there are a general aggregate website to find where EV charging stations are, of course, because not all charging stations are ChargePoint. And even ChargePoint, I think, includes everyone. But the tough part about that is unless you have an EV, an electric vehicle, you don't really care or notice or whatnot. I think before people purchase an electric vehicle, they do a lot of research and find out where in their network where there's facilities to do charging before they just jump off and buy one, because range anxiety is real. If you conk out, I'm not sure what the service plan is to be recharged if you run out of electric capabilities in your car, but that is something that I think a lot, that's why the topping off and planning routes around these stations are kind of the key mentality of EV drivers.
Okay.
Good. Other questions? Trustee Brown?
How far as the other villages that's in a near area, how are they doing as far as the stations?
Well, as far as I know, there's besides Prairie State College and some automobile, there's a Chevy dealer that has an EV charging station, and then of course the Walgreens. There's several Walgreens that have charging stations, but there's very few municipalities in the South that have them. Highland Park, Lake Forest, they installed about, I want to say, 6 to 10 of them throughout their village. Or through their cities. Oak Park's actually doing them like street side that look like parking meters, and they're actually are parking meters along with charging, so they charge for the actual parking space and the electric that's used as well. So it's gaining a momentum, but Park Forest is the leader as far as municipality in the South.
Good.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Oh, Trustee Settles.
Thank you, Mayor. Wasn't it, the state of Illinois is giving rebates also for the charging system, is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Our charging station will receive, the cost of our charging station installation is receiving a rebate from the state of Illinois in the amount of about $7,500 to go toward the cost of installation as well as the actual mechanism itself. For residents, though, and thank you for bringing this up, there's incredible rebates and incentives, and I don't know if Governor Rauner is going to change all that, but and federal tax rebates are tax credits, I guess, for purchasing of electric vehicles, as well as the same rebate that we're getting from the state for the charging station for home chargers. So level 1 charger that you put in your garage, that installation and the cost of the charger does qualify for a rebate. Now, the ones in your garage don't have that cell phone or that networking capability to it, but it still charges your vehicle. And from what I understand, I've had a bunch of colleagues purchase them, and what used to be like a $23,000 bill turned out to be about a $7,500 investment after all of the rebates and incentives and their calculated savings over a year of use. So where you just say, oh, $23,000 for a car, why would I do that? Well, the charging station or the charging mechanism for your garage, pretty much free, and then all the different state and federal tax credits and incentives.
And in the Village of Park Forest, we give the incentive of a reduced rate on the vehicle sticker for those who have electric cars to encourage more use of them. So, very good. Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
We appreciate your
Thank
good
you.
work. It's always something exciting that you have to report to us, so we really appreciate that.